Hello and welcome to round 4 of the Automobilista Australia Rookie Cup. We are coming from the Velo Citta circuit. I believe that's how you announce it anyway, as we see car 87 off in the boonies already. It is the start of qualifying. For once I've not missed the start of qualifying, so that's a positive start. And joining me this evening is Williams.
Yeah, Lewis, thanks for having me. Good to see you off to your best start yet.
And yeah, welcome to round always Automobilista Australia. Well, it's good to finally get away to a great start. I've gotten away poorly just about every time I've hosted something, so
You normally do it entirely by yourself too, so I think you got a bit of an excuse there.
yes, but it also doesn't help when you start the stream 5 minutes into into qualifying, or with 2 minutes left in qualifying. So we've just ticked over. I believe Brendon Ross, our championship leader, runaway championship leader, was fastest in practice, and we're going to follow him for a lap, or Scruff's going to sort of go with him for a lap. I've got to jet off for a moment, but I'll be back. So Scruff, talk us through it for a while.
I'll do my best. Yeah, we've got Rossi, who is leading the championship quite comfortably, I believe, at the moment. I think he's won the last 2 rounds, so the last 4 races, and at the moment he's just started his first flying lap. About a 10th off in the first sector, but a good start so far for Rossi. He'll be looking to continue his qualifying form, which has been strong. He's been near the front in, I think, every qualifying session we've actually had so far this season. And he's greatly improved in the races as well. And that's obviously something he'll look to keep going as he finishes his first qualifying lap at 59.9. Just waiting for a few more times to come in before we see just where that puts him. Looks like a good opening lap, as I believe my co-commentator has rejoined me.
Yes, I have. As you see, Coulston just nick in front of him.
Yeah, he's been very impressive tonight. He was leading the practice session for a while as Rossi goes off.
Yes, he's had a bit of a rough lap this time, so we'll go throughout the field and find someone else. Looks like Stoive. He's up quite a bit. He's up 3/10 on his own time, or 6/10 on his own time, and 3/10 on Mike Coulston's time. So,
just looking at live races at the moment, we've got pretty much every driver on the track with flames coming out of their icon, indicating they're on the fastest sector time.
That's it. Either Coulston didn't do a very good first sector, or everybody's just on fire.
Coulston on this lap doing a 16.1 doesn't look like it is a improvement for him, so it wasn't a bad first sector. It just seems that everyone else has been doing incredible first sectors. The best one so far, a 15.8.
And you see Scott Morrill. Well, Scott Morrill was temporarily P1, and we also saw Termo, newcomer, is up into P3, and Morrill P2, with Stoive going all the way to the top now with a 58.9. I believe that's the fastest time we've seen so far. So some very good pace shown already.
Yep, fastest one we've seen so far, just under a tenth quicker than Scott Morrill's best time, which is also his best one done in this session.
And just for, I guess, a bit of reference for those watching at home, the fastest time trial lap time around here, I believe, is a 57.7. So they're only 1.2 seconds off that. So not a bad effort from these rookies. Although there are obviously some guys like Scott Morrill who's done a bit of racing and is in the Pro B class. But with the smaller fields, we've decided, well, why not chuck a couple of these guys in there, allow them to race.
The ringers.
Yeah, the old ringers. And we'll have them in, and we'll see how they go.
Yeah, I am staying as far away from the series as possible. You couldn't actually pay me to drive in it because I would get destroyed.
They do require a certain driving style that can be frustrating to sort of learn and pick up, so I don't blame you.
I've found in the limited laps I have done, it's pretty much even under braking, you have to have your foot on the throttle.
Yes, which it sort of depends which track you're at. Some tracks are not too bad. I think this kind of track you don't have to worry too much about that, but obviously where there's corners which you have to get off throttle for to slow down, but it's still quick corners, that causes all kinds of issues, as we saw at Lontrina with that fast left-hand kink on the back straight.
Yeah, just having a look at the timing at the moment. No one going. We got a few people improving on their personal sector times, but none of them are actually.
Ross at the moment is he's currently going. It looks like his second.
Oh, there we go. Yep.
Second sector is just up, so he could nick in front of Stoive, and he's got a bit of a slipstream. But
it's just started that.
But he got a track cut, so his time didn't count. He's got traffic on this lap. The pit lane exit feeds right into sort of the racing line a little bit, so could have put him off there. And yes, he's down 1/10 on his own time and 3 on Stoive. So he's a bit quicker in the first sector than Mr. Bolger. But obviously the middle and final sectors, Steve, must really get it together there.
Yes, Stoive has been looking very strong in the final 2 sectors of the lap. First sector time on this lap is a 16 flat, which is pretty much in the middle of what everyone else is doing.
So it's probably a bit ominous, actually. Obviously, if Stoive can sort of get that first sector right, he could have a bit of a margin over these guys.
It does look, though, with him being so much faster in the final 2 sectors, it could be another qualifying domination by Stoive.
Yep, he's had pole in every session he's qualified in so far, so it's currently looking like he's going to get it again here. Turbo.
Well, I obviously wasn't here for the previous round, but did he manage to get a win in either of those races?
He did.
I watched it, but I can't remember. That's my cover story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yes, we did have some Brit join us.
Quality broadcast, that one.
A bit too fancy for our liking, so we've got an Australian back, thankfully. But yeah, he claimed he sort of messed up the first race, I believe, but was very strong and battled pretty hard with I think it was Ross. I can't remember in the second race.
I've already made a mistake in commentary, right? While you were gone, I said that Rossi had won the last several races.
Not quite. He had won. He won.
I'm just going off what the producers are telling me through the headset.
He won 2 at a borough, and he won one of the races last week.
I think he was still up there last week. Last week.
Last round.
Yeah, we'll go a week. We say year for each season.
Yes.
Which gets me every time. Last year we started in February.
Yeah, it does feel like a long time ago, so it is last year.
Last decade, before long. Rossi still doesn't look to be having the best time in qualifying. I think he's just done his best first 2 sectors.
And we've seen Ads move up into P2, so he's just behind Steve.
Oh yes, half a tenth.
Half a tenth behind Bolger and half a tenth in front of Scott Morrill. So he's just nicked in front there.
Ross on his way to the finish line now. Does improve, but only by a tenth, which keeps him 7th.
So he's a fair way off his time that he set in practice.
6 tenths off Stoive in just the final sector, which is worth quite a few positions to him at the moment.
So
those 6 tenths, if he could match Stoive in the final sector, he'd move up to 4th.
Well, we're riding on board Scott Morrill at the moment, who's 2 tenths up on his PB and 4 tenths up on Stoive. He's a little bit wide there with that orange vehicle. I don't have a spotter guide with me, so I can't tell who that is. So I apologise. So can he?
That was Luke Joyner, I believe.
It did cost him time, so he was 2 tenths up on his own time. Had he maintained that, it would have stuck him in pole position. But he only improved by 0.02 of a second there, and he's got 25 seconds. So this will be his last lap. He's up again on himself, just slightly on his previous lap.
Got Ross starting his final lap too. He's still down in the 59 sevenths. If you're wondering why I'm focusing on him so much more than usual, he has recently signed a Farcanel Racing contract, which I've just gone and given spoilers to. And he's given up. And that contract's in the bin.
Well, doesn't take much to lose the contract, and well, there you go.
Doesn't take much to get it back though.
So Morrell was down on his own time, and is down again that time around. I believe you got a track cut for that final. That's penultimate corner there. A lot of people seem to be getting on the grass at the final turn, and that gives them a track cut. As we see Luke Joyner.
Mike Coulston on a good lap, not his best, not pole lap, but he is up through the first 2 sectors. He's now coming around the final couple of corners.
Well, he was within half a tenth of his own time and a tenth off Bolger. So Bolger obviously very mega through that final sector, his final couple of turns.
I think he may have had an issue in the final turn.
Coulston did improve, but only by 1/100th of a second, so it didn't move him up any spots. And I believe that is it for qualifying. So
yep.
There it is. Once again, Stoive continues his hot form in qualifying, but got Brendon Ross out of position. We did see him go 7/10 faster in practice, so he'll be one to look out for. But we'll just go through, obviously, the qualifying order. Obviously, you can see it on your screen there. Got Stoive pole position. Ads, once again, he's continued his decent form. He's in P2. Scott Morrell in P3. Got Termo in P4. Mike Coulston P5. The Big Duke in P6. Brendon Ross P7. Luke Joyner.
David Keane has joined the game. Sorry to interrupt you there. That is news.
Yes. Luke Joyner P8. Brian Walsh. Solid effort for him. P9. Gary Neville in P10. River Whisper P11. Glenn Miles P12. And obviously David Keane has just joined us. So we
also have FB the 73 just trying to get back in at the moment. Must have had a connection issue during the qualifying session.
Yes, does look like he had to leave either during or just prior to qualifying. And obviously, with the way the settings are, you can't rejoin the qualifying session. So I'm sure he'll be back to the warm-up. But we'll take a quick break as we go through the drivers' briefing with the drivers. But yes, just join us in about 5 minutes' time, and we'll be back. Hello and welcome back. We've got 30 seconds left in the warm-up. The drivers have had their briefing. They're just getting the final touches and final, obviously, practices of pit entries and the like before we go green for race 1. It is, well, a very interesting pit lane. Sort of snakes around. We've already seen a couple guys. We saw Brendon Ross get himself disqualified. Instead of taking the pit entry, he went off and went down the full-length circuit the wrong way. So he's had to miss most of this warm-up session. But just ticked it over to 0 with FB the 73, the only one setting a time, with most people practicing their pit entries and exits. Just see the back end of Luke Joyner do his, and as you can see he's very easy to get lost. As you see, he gets rear-ended by Scott Murrell, I believe. So right on board Steve, yeah, here it is. No, there it goes. We've ticked over to the race, and drivers have got 1 minute to form up on the grid for a race 1.
Who's your man to watch in this one, Lewis?
The man to watch. Well, in terms of pace, obviously you've got Stoive up front, and he's where you want to be when you've got a bit of speed, and that's up front. But obviously we saw Brendon Ross, our championship leader. He was quick in practice, but in qualifying had traffic and obviously made a couple of mistakes. He finds himself down in P7, so he's probably the man to watch in terms of obviously a driver moving himself up through the grid. So it'd be out of those two for me, out of see Stoive and Ross. How about yourself, Scruff?
Well, I mean, you can't really go past the man on pole. He's been, well, even in races, he's had good pace, but he's just made mistakes. But man further back, I'd be watching his big dog. His big dog!
The big dog!
As he has been in incredible form lately, winning both races on Thursday in the Super Series in the Pro-Am class.
He was, yes, I looked at his times in live races during the week, and he showed very good pace. In fact, I did a handful of laps in those cars, and he was matching the times I was setting, so he certainly set the pace, and his recent form has certainly been on an upswing, so he is one man to watch. So we'll just go through the grid for you at home once again. Obviously we've got Steve Bolger, car 87, on pole position. Got Ads, also in a bit of decent form at the moment in the minis. He's in P2. Scott Murrell, Pro B driver, joining us for his first race in the Rookie Cup. We've got Turmo, I believe this is his first race, and he starts P4. He showed some decent speed. Mike Coulston, another one in some decent form, probably a little annoyed with his qualifying efforts, but still he finds himself in P5. We've got the big dog. He must have got away slowly because he's sort of out of position on this formation lap. He's in P6. Brendon Ross down in P7. Be disappointed with his qualifying efforts. And then behind him we've got Luke Joyner, FB the 73 in P9, Brian Walsh P10, Gary Neville 11th, River Whisper P12, Glenn Miles P13, and David Keane at the back in P14. He's probably another one to watch. I don't know if he's done any practice, but he always seems to make his way up through the field.
Oh, he doesn't practice.
So
he just comes in and he's awesome.
2 light, 3 light, 4 light, 5, and we are away.
Good start from Bolger at the front there.
Scott Murrell's got an even better start and is up the inside. We're 3 wide going into turn 1 there.
This could get entertaining very early. They all seem to have got through there well at the front.
They have. A lot of respect being shown.
A couple people off in the back.
A little bit of contact, but no one is around just yet, so that's good to see.
Big dog down 3 places after that, but got the inside line here and looked to make a couple from the back.
So Ads has made his way, found his way into the lead. Now he's got Scott Murrell behind him. And, Murrell's got a tap from Bolger and spun him around, so that could be a possible penalty there. And
Bit of contact further back in the field.
And Brendon Ross is now up to P2, so he's had a very good start, and well, in front of his championship rivals, and FB the 73 another one. He's up 6 spots.
Bolger having some early issues here, down in 4th place, a little bit sideways coming out of the final corner, making a little bit of contact with Luke Joyner, who's up to 4th.
He's up 4 spots, so Bolger, yeah, he seems to have this, he's very cautious, and he probably needs to be a little bit more assertive. Not so much aggressive, but just assertive on these first laps, and it seems to cost him. So he's
they're a tricky one to play. You sort of have to be cautiously aggressive and just know where to put the car when you do wind up further back in the field, and you can generally make up quite a few spots.
Yeah, so you've got to find that right balance of aggression as well as keeping...
It was really fishing for the compliment there.
Yeah. It's all about that, finding that balance, as we see the cars make their way through the penultimate corner here. As we see...
But the layout of this track and all the different lines for the different layouts, I keep thinking people speared off sideways and they're actually just taking corners.
Oh,
Coulston has been checked up there and had to get out of it.
And that's given Big Dog a good run into turn 1. And
he's back up into 6th now, so it's starting to work out in his favour. He had a poor first lap, but it's the second lap's got him back up to where he started.
Joyner holds on around the outside for now, at least to turn 1. And yes, he does keep that spot. Oh, we see a car off in the back. That is Scott Morrill again, trying to battle his way through the field. Oh,
as we got River Whisper, he's off the track and pointing in the correct direction again.
Just have a look at the replay and see what he's managed to do here.
We're all looking for that. We got Ads just under half a second away at the front, but with Ross all over the back of him.
Just on the brakes too late. And
Ross up the inside for the lead at the
but he's gone
corner.
He's gone wide at the and that might be, I believe that's a track cut doing that. So you don't want to do that too often. Get on the grass on the exit the final turn there.
We've just had a question on the broadcast asking if there are any pit stops in the race. There's a mandatory pit stop where the drivers are required to take a minimum of 2 tyres, and refueling isn't mandatory.
Well, refueling with these minis, you actually cannot refuel. So drivers have to start the race on the required amount of fuel to get them to the finish. So in this case,
and we'll hope that they're all aware of that.
Well, they were told in the briefing, so hopefully they were listening.
We won't get into that.
So we've got Ads, who showed some fantastic racecraft in defending, and well, in the last round. So and he's got the lead behind him.
We've also got Big Dog now up into 5th, all over the back of Stoive.
He's ran a little bit wide in the final turn there. He's on the grass, and it's going to give Luke Joyner a good run. As we see Morrill and Coulston battling it out for P8, so he's passed a couple cars on this lap. He's got a good run, and he should take that position from Coulston into turn 1.
Brian Walsh not quite off to the same start as he was last time out.
Don't believe he's done as much practice this time out. As we see Termo, he's going very slowly. Looks like Termo is going into the pit, so he's getting his compulsory pit stop out of the way, and as you saw there, it's a very interesting run into the pit lane. We'll have to follow another driver going to that pit lane as we see, go back to the battle for the lead with Ross all over the back of Ads, who we know can defend very well.
It's a bold strategy pitting this early on this track. I haven't actually done a lap here, but I'd imagine it's one of the harder ones on the front tyres, and making them last the next 25 laps might be a reasonable challenge.
It is a fair point, actually. This, in terms of laps anyway, it is, even though it's a short lap, obviously it's 30 laps. So it's a long time in these cars, so we won't know.
Yeah, we run this series to a 50-kilometre race distance, which is always rounded up to the next full lap. So even if it's, say, 20.001 laps, it will be rounded up to 21 laps.
So, that's the formula for obviously the race length. As we see, Ad's sort of struggling a little bit this lap, and he's got Ross all over the back of him, and that's allowed FB the 73. We're gonna have to come up with a better name for all FB.
Poiter.
Dave
Poiter.
Poiter.
Where's Stoive? He's got Stoive right behind Poiter.
And Ross has got a good run out of the final turn on Ads, and
looking up the inside here, looks like they're side by side as Stoive sets another fastest lap. Ross has backed out of that one.
Obviously thinking a little bit of the championship there, doesn't want to just send it and risks damaging that car in a DNF. Does have a big lead in the championship. It's 28 points, I believe. So
Stoive has managed to pull away from Big Dog now to the tune of about 2.1 or 2 seconds.
2 seconds.
After a couple laps ago, they were right on the back of each other.
So he's got his head down now, and he's got in the groove, and he's all over the back of Poiter. So just avoids him into the penultimate turn there. Much quicker. To see
Ross is, yeah, he's right up the back of Ads now.
But he did get a good exit. He did not.
Yeah, he's probably too close into that final corner and just had to lift off a bit.
And that's one thing I think. Hopefully this series sort of teaches these guys is that sometimes it's not so much about being so close to someone. It's actually about timing when to be close to someone to make an overtake easier for yourself.
So you have to think sometimes half a lap ahead in terms of positioning before you can actually make the move. Because if you're too close and you've got a nice long braking zone after a tight corner, it's just not going to happen.
Up the inside, does a little switcheroo.
Great move there from Stoive, but he was run wide.
So it's not so great, knocks the cone over.
The move was great, the execution wasn't.
It certainly looked good, but just couldn't quite pull it up. And
hasn't stuck the landing.
Hasn't stuck the landing, so that's a 2 out of 5 by the Russian judges.
That's a bit generous.
It's got to be made. He had a crack. And, well, the big
style points.
Style points. And the big dog is closed in on these guys. Well, all of them are. So Ads is sort of, even though he set his personal best of 1 minute 0.0.
Scott Murrell, 58.8. Sorry to come across you. That's
that would have
few
put him
quicker than we've seen from anyone.
That would have put him on pole position. So, see, he's down in 7th at the moment, but he's only 6 seconds behind these guys now. So,
pace like that, he's got plenty of time to use it. He just has to get the strategy right and make sure he gets through the guys in front cleanly.
It might actually pay for him to pit because he's got to get past Luke Joyner and a couple of these cars as Stoive, and he gets past FB the 73. But FB must have, or Poiter must have run wide because now Big Dog has got, or the Big Dog's got past him as Poiter.
Looks like Ross may actually have a chance this time down at turn 1. Sorry to cut
Poiter
across
goes up the inside and gave
Ross has got to run here. Sorry, Lewis. Ross has got to run. He's looking around the outside as Ads has gone to the inside and defended quite early there.
And Ads holds
may
on.
Compromise his line. He may run a little bit wide on exit here and give Ross a chance for the switcheroo.
But we'll just go back to the replay where we had
Ross up the inside. He's in front. Looks like he's got the move done. He just needs to defend here.
Yes, he's got that done. Doesn't make a mistake. And
that's how you get hero status right there.
There's Big Dog goes late on Poiter and cost himself a position. I don't think he's too happy, Big Dog, because the previous lap Poiter made a pretty big dive on him at the penultimate turn where drivers were told to take it easy, and gave him a bit of a shove, and he took the position off him, and then at the final turn the Big Dog gave him a big hit up the backside. So I don't think he's too happy with him, as now Murrell up the inside of the Big Dog through the final turn. So yeah, I think strategy-wise, if I was Scott, I would have pitted on that lap and got into clear air, because obviously he does have the pace over these guys. Joyner, a bit of contact with Poiter, and Poiter is off the road, and so Scott Murrell, and so is the Big Dog. So a few mistakes as Murrell gives Poiter a bit of a shove. Not the cleanest driving the Rookie Cup we've seen, as it looks like Murrell's having a go.
Oh, bit of a shove there from Ads on Ross.
Well,
Looks like he's got out of it and hasn't tried to take the position from it, which is commendable, but Bolger has caught right up to the back of these two now.
As Ads runs wide, that's going to cost him... no, not this time around.
He's gone wide again at the final corner though. That's going to give Stoive a chance.
Yeah, that will cost him. And Stoive will take that. Thank you very much. And we see a car off. It's Poida. He's pitting. And so is Scott Murrell, I believe. Yes. So they'll be hoping to get a bit of clear air and get away from that pack.
Just looking at the tyre data, Brendon Ross, his front right tyre is already under 50%. So pitting this early for some of these guys may put them at a fairly big disadvantage towards the end of the race.
Well, if it's at under 50%, they will be stretching it. Obviously, the tyres will make it to the end, but they won't be in the greatest of condition. They'll probably be around 35 to 30%. As you see Stoive sort of defending a little bit there from Ads. He's trying to get P2 back.
Stoive has about 8% better tyres than Ross at the moment, which is negligible, but when they get to the drop-off points, it will obviously happen with Rossi first.
Ads has got a good toe off Bolger.
He's having a look into turn one. My camera's not on them.
Bolger.
Well defended around the outside there from Stoive.
Well, Stoive, he gave the required space, as we see a drive-through penalty for
Poida.
Trying to find out where he is at the moment. He must have sped in the pit lane.
Seeing a lot of lockups from Ross on that extra worn front right tyre. It is struggling.
You see Neville and Coulston side by side, and Brian Walsh having a look as well. And then we see Big Dog having a look at Brian Walsh. So Big Dog's dropped back a little bit. I don't know if he's pitted.
Well, Rossi goes a little bit wide coming out of the final corner.
He has, but
I think he'd be best off if he wants to win this race. He'd be best off coming in this lap and just sort of trying to stretch the tyres to the end, maybe push on his outlap to try and build up an advantage and protect from any overcut that might be possible.
Yeah, there is that thinking, but also perhaps doing, if it looks like Steve's going to pit, to pit at the same time. He's either got to try and undercut him, I reckon, or yeah, he's got to pit at the same time. Otherwise, I think if Stoive gets a bit of clear air at the moment, he certainly looks a bit quicker. And Rossi at the moment, as he runs wide again.
He's struggling with those tyres quite badly at the front here. As we have someone next to Big Dog in the background. I've given up on even trying that. It might be Brian Walsh.
Who's off the road, I believe is it in the white and blue car? That's Gary Neville, I believe.
No, that is Brian Walsh.
Was? Okay.
Up in 6th place, just in front of Big Dog.
And,
coming good here as he goes off the track and
Big Dog has a go. As you see, a couple of
cars. A few guys going off to the back into the pits. It looks like they're crashing, but they aren't.
Gary Neville is one of those, but yes, we see fast and Ads in the pits. So Ads in the pits.
The front runners have continued on. Gary Neville struggling to get into
Bolger is in the lead, so we've missed it.
David Keane drives through penalty. He must have been speeding in the pit lane.
Oh, so a bit of contact into turn one from Bolger on Ross, and that allowed him to get past Ross. They both locked up badly, but that little nudge gave Bolger the lead.
It's one of the hardest series to co-commentate because there's always something happening in these Rookies Cup races, and we always just wind up yelling over each other as Brian Walsh runs a little bit wide, but Big Dog has got back in front of him.
Just check the lap time this time around, so 1 minute 0.3. So they won't want to go too much longer with the pace Murrell's running. He's a second a lap faster.
Yeah, Joyner's front right tyre is currently at 17%.
So he is just not getting any drive out of that final corner at all. It's just a
handful of tyre smoke and not a lot of else.
1 minute 2 that time around, and you can see he's leaning on that tyre.
Oh! We've had someone in the background go off behind the leaders. That's Scott Murrell. Scott Murrell has gone off and spun as FB the 73. I mean, Poiter.
That's big damage to that car. It's no rear wing. The rear end is crumpled. He'd have suspension damage and a possible puncture there. So we'll go back and have a look at the replay.
Just jumping on board with him now to...
He was just behind.
Yeah, that car is all over the place. That's undrivable at the moment.
So ran wide at turn 2 and onto the grass, lost the back end, and the back end hit the wall on the opposite side. So
yeah, he's coming in here. No choice whatsoever there.
That's a shame for him because he would have been in contention, I believe. As we see Mike Coulston in the pit. So the leaders went round again. Both of them doing... I think Ross did a 59.4 and Bolger's time didn't register. So he obviously got a track cut at the final turn.
Ross now 20% of that front right tyre left. He almost has to pit this lap, you'd think. But Bolger not really able to get away from him.
It seems to
as we have Luke Joyner in 3rd place coming into the pits.
It's like there's almost a catch-up logic. One of them takes the lead and then the car behind him catches up.
These two must just be very good friends because it's been happening the whole way through. Not just this race, the entire series where they've been racing each other. As we've got quite a few people in the pits now. We've got Joyner, Big Dog, Brian Walsh, Scott Murrell obviously getting that damage repaired, and I believe one of the leaders has just come in. Actually, that might be Poiter serving his drive-through penalty. Yes, the leaders have kept going. As he's got another one. He must have lifted off, let go of that limiter a little bit too early.
He's either or he's done it on entry. Perhaps he's just getting a little bit too hot on entry, and that's if he might not have even mapped the button. But then again, you do need to map a button to get off the pit lane speed limiter, so...
Not in the race, though. You don't start the race with the limiter on. If you do, then...
True, but...
well done if you're making up positions.
And, I believe he's decided to park it after that last one, which is unfortunate, because he did show a bit of speed.
He had a decent pace, did Poiter. And
our leaders go through once again, so they're pushing their tyres to the absolute limit, and they are lucky. They are very, very lucky that that Murrell had his problem, because at the pace he was able to run at, the pace they're going at now, he probably would have just jumped these guys.
Yeah, if one of them comes in now, though, and the other stays out, they're going to build up a fair lead, you'd have to think.
Well,
not 100% sure on what the times are. I'm just having a look now.
Pace-wise, they're currently fast.
Yeah, they're not actually too bad. They're both still in the 59s.
Yeah, pace-wise, they're okay, but...
They're each of them 4 to 6 tenths off their best lap at the race, so it's... doesn't seem too bad, but you would think Rossi now at 9% on that front right tyre.
Stoive has got his pit crew's ready, and he enters the pits.
And Ross looks like he's going to continue.
So we will follow Brendon Ross in the pits, and it will show just how difficult this pit lane entry is.
I didn't get the icon up on the screen there for Rossi, sorry. So pit confirm.
I believe that line they just crossed there is the pit lane speed limit line as well. So that line shows just how long this pit lane entry is, or pit lane is, as you can see with most of the field a lap down, and that is why. Very long pit lane, and not the quickest pit stops in these machines.
It'll be interesting to see how they go about it now with 10 or 11 laps left to go in the race once they leave the pits. And Ads is coming.
He's coming around the penultimate turn now.
There's Ads pit, yes, Ads is pit. Going by his tyre.
Stoive is away, and Ross is away, and Ads has gone down the pit straight, so it's actually going to be fairly close.
Looks like he may just get the jump. I'm not sure how long the pit exit is. Right behind him there.
So I think 1 or 2 rough laps from Ads sort of cost him a little bit.
Yeah, he's been in the wars a bit with racing a couple drivers. and has now turned his headlights on.
As
They're lapping people, that's okay, I'll allow that.
what was it? I believe that's Brian Walsh sort of holding up Ross there. But unfortunately, he's had nowhere to go there for a couple of turns.
That's Glenn Miles in the 69 car.
Yep, he sort of had nowhere to go for a couple of turns, so they just had to deal with it as they both run wide. The penultimate turn, getting yellow out for someone letting them go.
River Whisper off the track. Scott Murrell down in 13th place. He'll just be there for whatever positions he can get. Might be 1 or 2 spots available for him, and if he keeps running, he could get a few more through people not finishing. As we have River Whisper, I believe. Yep, River Whisper has spun around. Glenn Miles with a drive-through penalty.
And he's well off the road there. So this thing sort of, well, we do have Ross and Ads now going at it. So Ross being held up a little bit. It did cost him a bit of time to Bolger, and it's brought Ads right back into play. But we'll just run through the order for you. Obviously, you've got Stoive currently with 8 laps, or shortly 8 laps to go in first place. We've got Ross, championship leader, P2. And we've got Ads in P3. Luke Joyner has made his way up to P4. Brian Walsh doing a fantastic job. He's in P5 at the moment. And he's holding off Gary Neville and the big...
Brian Walsh with a penalty.
I believe that's...
David Keane with another one.
I believe that's for a track cut. As
Ads has just gone off a little bit there as well. Doesn't look as though penalties come up.
So that moves Gary Neville up to P5 now. Mike Coulston P6. The big dog in P7. Walsh, unfortunately, that's going to drop him well down now. It's P8. Turbo in P9. And Scott Merrill P10 is 36 seconds behind Turbo. With River Whisper P11. Glenn Miles P12. David Keane serving his penalty in P13. And Puida in the only DNF so far. So we've got Steve with a bit of a lead now. And Ross has sort of pulled away a bit from Ad, so he's looking forward now. He wants to claw that 1.5 seconds back and make it a bit of a contest with 6 laps to go.
Yeah, just hope that he doesn't play his normal card of pushing for too long. As he goes off there, he needs to just think about the championship, I think, at this stage.
Yeah, that's
They're both on fresh tyres. He can't rely on Stoive making a mistake. Just needs to make sure he gets the car back and keeps Ads behind him, really. Yeah, as he's gone a little bit too hot there again. He's pushing quite hard trying to catch back up. He just doesn't need to. He's got the lead in the championship.
Yeah, all he's got to do is just pretty much just focus on the next corner a bit and just take it a little bit easy. And around here, like, there's 1 or 2 corners where if you get them right, it's very difficult to pass around the other parts of the circuit. So perhaps he just needs to focus just on getting those right, and obviously Ads probably won't be too much of a bother to him. But looks like he's driving inexperienced just a little bit too much.
He just needs to get his head down and just get the laps in and finish the race off.
That too, he probably is counting down the laps too. I know. Obviously, Bolger is in front. He's got a bit of a lead, and obviously Ross battling away for the championship, and he's hoping, I just want to bank these points.
Coming up to Glenn Miles again, who will have served his penalty. I believe he got a penalty.
Yes, I believe he did, and well, he's been in front of Bolger for half a lap. He gets out of the way there. It is tight and twisty track, so it is difficult for back markers to let, obviously, lead driver Cyrus Ross sets his fastest lap of the race. It didn't look like a great lap, but particularly the first sector, but not a bad lap for him.
Got someone off in front of the leaders.
I believe that is River Whisper, I believe, in the black and silver.
Yep.
Mini.
River Whisper, he is currently 2 laps down on the leaders.
I'm quite happy that I actually remembered the look of his car.
As Glenn Miles has gone past him as well, as he was letting the leaders go through off the track there.
I believe we've got Coulston and Neville battling now, so we'll drop back there, and they are side by side down the pit straight. They've got the big dog in front of them, so Big Dog's managed to get in front of him. And Neville locks up. Always Coulston gives him a bit of a nudge. I don't think there was anything either of them could have done there. Coulston having a look on the inside of turn 2. Compromised his mid and exit to turn 2 there, but Neville runs wide. It's going to give Coulston a chance. And he outbrakes himself, does Neville, but Coulston all over the curb, and that cost him time.
Not a good lap from Brendon Ross there. He's done a 1:01.9 and has dropped to 4.5 seconds behind Bolger.
So he does his personal best and then does one of his worst laps of the race. So a little bit inconsistent.
It's a bit of a habit he has got himself into over the course of his career with us, but he has improved a lot lately, and he like we've said, he needs to get to the end of this race and then just focus on the next one.
That's it.
It looks like he's getting out of the way of ads.
Interesting.
Not sure what's happened there. Gary Neville with a drive-through penalty.
That will be for a track cut, I believe.
Doesn't look like ads is now getting away from Rossi, so I'm not quite sure what's happened there. He just offline a bit and then lifted out of it completely.
Perhaps he just didn't want to battle and just got out of it. It's just like, I just want to bank these points, I think that's what he's done.
Oh, I don't believe that for a second. we've seen enough of him. He wants to be in it. But he is dropping further back in the braking zone, though ads has gone quite wide in turn 1 there. So we have Glenn Miles, I think, off in the background again, letting River Whisper get back through. Keeping an eye on this battle at the moment, as Scott Murrell gets a drive-through penalty to further compound his struggles in this race, as we have had, I can't remember who's in which car, ads has gone off the track, allowing Brendon Ross back through.
So Ross let him go, and then ads just goes off the road and says, well, you can have it back. Well, no one wants P2, so...
Same part of the track, they just went to different sides. Ads very wide out of the final corner.
That's where we see, I think, why we've seen a few drivers cop penalties. It's very easy as Luke
Joyner
in P4.
Now the next one.
So we're right on board.
David Keane with another penalty.
We're right on board. He was going through a bit of traffic, was Luke Joyner. And we'll just see what he did.
Ross is letting ads go again.
Just see what Luke Joyner did to get himself that penalty. That's it. The penultimate turn. He's gone across the grass there, which a few people have done, and that's a drive-through penalty for excessive track cuts. And Ross has
let him back through. I'm interested now to see how ads gives the spot back again.
Maybe we missed something, and
well, I've had my camera on these two for the last few laps, trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
Perhaps
I haven't seen any contact between them. I haven't.
Perhaps there was contact earlier on in the race that we missed, and he's just redressing the position to avoid a penalty. As we see Turmo going very slowly, he's in 9th at the moment, but I believe he's got a puncture, a front right puncture, as we see smoke billowing off the car, and the front end of the car is dipping quite a bit.
Ross has got right out of it now. The gap's already over 3 seconds in front to ads.
So he looks to be playing the championship game, and Turmo continues with that puncture, so he's going to try and do a Gilles Villeneuve here. He's driving car 27, a red 27, and he's going to try and drive this thing with 3 wheels, because he does have a puncture at the front right, I believe.
He's pitted because his front left isn't too bad, so that's an interesting one.
And, we've got Walsh and Neville fairly close together on track, and Neville's got a lapped Scott Murrell behind him, trying to unlap himself as Turmo runs wide. He's going to have to pit because he's sort of holding up a few cars now. But we'll stick with this Walsh-Neville battle. Unfortunately, the battle for first, second and third is sort of decided, and this is a close spell on track. So, we've got Neville, who is battling Walsh for P7. Walsh doing a pretty good job. Obviously, he did get a penalty, but despite that, finds himself in P7. And without that, he'd probably find himself above Luke Joyner and possibly even Mike Coulston in P5.
Yeah, I think Walsh would have found himself in 5th place, and I'm not sure he would have actually been too far behind Big Dog.
The big dude.
Currently in 4th place, which is up 2 positions from where he started. As we are on the final lap, our director will want to get ready to show us the leaders.
Yes.
As Bolger has won the race.
There it is. Bolger, race winner, converts his pole. Did have to work for it a bit, dropping back off the starts, and adds distant P2 in the end, 9 seconds off. So those, you'll see, Ads and Ross dropped quite an amount of time after the pit stops. Ross, P3.
Be very interested to find out what was going on towards the end between Ross and Ads, and why Ross was trying to give out the spot and why Ads didn't seem too willing to take it.
We've got a car stopped on track, but we're just looking at the big Duke. He's going to come home a decent P4.
Gary Neville has stopped, I believe, just before the final corner.
There's Coulston P5. There's Joyner. He's been lapped, so he's binned his car and is missing a wheel, as we see. So he's P6. We've got Brian Walsh P7. He's sort of in the middle of everyone doing doughies and wrecking themselves. And Turmo is holding on.
Gary Neville was stopped before the final corner and
he
let him go through, and is now driven past.
Looked like he just wanted to drag race him. So there you go.
This is a very strange race we've had here with drivers just not wanting the spot and then taking it back with literally no effort whatsoever.
And Bolger in victory, trying to get style points, but instead just hits the wall rather lamely. There's a couple rocks there up that hill that he probably could have hit. That would have been spectacular. Probably would have rolled, but missed him.
We get the barrel roll going. We all saw my double front flip, double barrel roll in Dwayne Davies' McLaren the other day, which was awesome. And that's the only review I will accept on the situation.
So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. So there we go. Looking at chat there, looks like Brendon Ross is trying to save fuel. So that sheds some light on obviously him slowing down towards the end. And River Whisper ran out of fuel on the 25th lap. So that's why he DNF'd. So just to go over the results, as you can see on the screen there, you had Steve Bolger winning race 1 and adds P2, followed by Brendon Ross. And unfortunately, it skipped over to the next session, so that's killed that. But I believe Big Dog was in P4.
I believe you could be right. Yes, Big Dog P4, Coulston P5, Joyner P6, Walsh P7, and it's just gone over on the stream too, so I can't see it anymore. Production quality here is incredible.
What we lack in production quality, we make up for in
good pronunciation of names that people may or may not have.
Yes, and alcohol, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Well, we don't normally do interviews between races, but I guess we've been joined by Rossi in TV time here. So Rossi, that was a bit of an interesting race. That one obviously didn't qualify too well, even though in practice this set a time that would have set you up pretty well in the top 3, I believe. So obviously getting through that first lap up into P2 or P3 was a bit of a surprise.
It was a bit of a surprise. It was quite a jump, I might say, that I got on him, but I sort of tried to hold on to second because I had no idea how to get through the pit lane. So I tried to hold on to second there, and then realised midway through the race that I'm not going to make it on fuel.
So was that just a mistake on your part pre-race, not putting enough fuel in, or is it just something with these cars where it was at the limit for them?
Well, I put in about 4 extra laps, so I'm guessing it might just be my style of driving, just might be too heavy.
We did have some information coming our way via telemetry that obviously you used up your tyres quite a bit more than those around you, so perhaps that was part of part of it, but still, obviously, P7 to P3 in the end, not bad, and it sort of minimised the loss of points in the championship there too.
Yes, so that was just the main idea. I just needed to finish there.
Yeah, that's it. So obviously qualifying will be coming up shortly. Hopefully you'll be, well, I'm sure you'll be looking to hopefully nailing a lap this time.
Yes, hopefully trying to actually get the lap done.
Alright, well, we'll leave you to it. So
Cool.
good luck for race 2, and well done on P3 in race 1.
Thank you.
So just about to tick things over to qualifying. So just bear with us for a moment. Probably just have a short break, 2 minutes. We'll give the driver...
Yeah, we normally let it go till about the 3-minute mark of this session before we skip it through into qualifying, just to let everyone stretch their legs a bit.
Yeah, so we'll take a short 2 or 3 minute break, but we will be back. And we are back, and we are looking at Peter the Cheat. Okay, well, maybe not a cheat,
It's Peter the Cheater.
Peter the Cheater. Well, not quite cheater, but he exited the pits under red, but which is a bit of a no-no. I know you don't get penalised for it in game.
The word that's been going around for however long is that if you do that, I believe it's your first time lap doesn't wind up counting. I'm not sure if that's true or not. I don't plan on ever finding out, but...
Well, we'll find out. We'll follow him around, because he is the first one out on track. So we'll follow him and see if that is just a rumour or if that is fact.
Be good to know, because I'm pretty sure every time anyone's ever done it, that's what's been said in the commentary. Looks like he's just started his first lap.
He cuts across the pit line there in front of, I believe that's Gary Neville. Not the smartest of ideas. He had similar issues at Queensland Raceway in the supercars with people driving over to the pit line.
Yeah, I was amazed when I heard about it actually causing issues. It looks like Peter is indeed being given this lap.
Well, we'll see when he crosses the line, because sometimes the timing goes all the way through and then at the end
it gets deleted at the end.
Yeah, it just doesn't count. So we'll follow this through. See, he's currently got the fastest first split of a 16 dead. Not a bad final sector. They didn't end up on the grass. Will this lap time count? So let's have a look. It's going to be 59, or is it? No, 1 minute 0. So time did count. So there we go. We've now learned that is absolute bogus.
We've actually achieved something during a Rookies Cup broadcast.
So there you go. ARW TV can suck it.
Yes, 100%. And we are now doing all of our own commentary.
So, David Keane. Ross goes P1 provisionally, 59.9. Obviously, the track isn't as rubbered up as what it was following, obviously, race 1. The survey gets reset.
A few guys did get out there, but just not enough to really have any effect whatsoever. Towards the end of the session, I should be getting similar grip levels, but it still won't really pick up probably until about 5 laps into the race.
Ross was up on his time, but come across the miles, he's held him up a bit. But yeah, the track should rubber up a little bit in this session, but I don't believe it's going to go to anywhere close to what it was like when they did qualifying in the first time around. So Peter goes P1.
The one thing a lot of people don't realise with the track usage is that while in server it may say it's on light, medium, high or whatever, it is a percentage and it hits those I can't think of the word for the words.
Threshold.
That's the one. There's a percentage when it will tick over in the server list. So from medium to high, I believe it might be around 70 to 80%. But the percentage will continue to rise. So after that, it's not at maximum, where it continues to get better.
Yeah, so obviously there are in R Factor 2, another sim. There are some HUDs that show obviously how much.
I'm not sure we're meant to advertise other sims.
Who says, well, Automobilista 2 could use the same engine. So just throwing this out there, that I know in other sims that there are, I know HUDs that show the exact percentage of how much the track's rubbered in, and in obviously that sim there's weather, and it shows how wet the track is as well. So
I would love that.
So
since we're doing that, don't buy iRacing.
Yes, iRacing probably as Big Dog tries to invent a new way to go through Turn 1 there.
Much like ARW TV, iRacing can suck it.
Yes, iRacing indeed can suck it.
Suck it! And we did a really good broadcast for the first race, and it's all fallen to shit.
Indeed it has fallen to absolute profanity.
Excrement.
Fuck. Stoive. 3/10 down on Ross in the first sector here. So
since I've elected not to use my favourite word.
I believe that is, as Neil Compton would refer to as the big gun.
I thought you were going to say a fucking ripper.
See, for those that aren't aware, if you watch the 2006 Bathurst Top 10 shootout, he makes a bit of a slip of the tongue, mixing up Big Gun with another big C. So go through and watch that, and you'll find that little tidbit in there.
And if you are watching right now, then there's probably something better to do.
So Ross has got the blue flags out, so I think he's just left the pits. He's currently P1 on a 59.685.
Which I believe is better than his qualifying time in the first race as we try and get back on track.
As you see, FB73 lock up his front tyres badly in the final turn. He would have flat spotted those, so if he has his force feedback up at any kind of decent percentage, his wheel will be shaking like crazy down this main straight.
The Lancers are the worst ones I've experienced with flat spots, because it seems as though if you lock one, you lock all four wheels. And then they wind up in different positions, so the car just sort of
shakes.
It's like it's just horrible.
Gary Neville is up currently P3 at the moment. He's done a 59.960. I believe he even clipped the barrier there at the end, and he's going to hit the barrier on the inside, and well, bang.
Let's try and get some numbers for you on the current track usage, which I can't see because the writing is in white and it's got a white background at the moment.
Where are you seeing this?
Oh, I'm guessing that this is where it was. No, the percentage is horrible, and that's right, I can't remember how it works. It's where I get all my tyre data from, though. If you know that command, I don't know why I'm not giving it away. It's Control D. Without being in the replay mode, you have to click the go to track spectate button.
Well, I won't be doing that because that kills the replay function. So just watch ads as Ross goes P1 on a 58.896. So that's, well, a hair, literally 1/10 off Merle's time in the first race there. But
as Stoive has just done a 59.5, nowhere near Ross at the moment, 0.663 of a second. As Termo is just driving along the wall down the start-finish straight.
Termo's had well, he's very erratic. He's done some very odd things out there on the circuit we've seen. Obviously driving around with a puncture for 3 laps, and
I shouldn't laugh, but it's hard not to.
It is the Rookie Cup, so we do see these guys that perhaps new to sim racing that just go out there and, well, they don't give a stuff. So they just do what, you know, they don't know any better. They go out there, run around with the puncture or run around sideways. We have seen him get it sideways quite a bit when we've seen him.
This race will be run in reverse by all drivers.
And there's 14 disqualifications, so...
you just put it in reverse and go the correct way around. Or reverse the wrong way around.
So, I think what we'll do, we'll follow Brian Walsh for a lap. And we'll see how he goes. He's currently in P10. That's why the final turn, that's going to compromise his run down the straight. So it's probably going to ruin the first part of this next lap, should he continue.
They're not the best one-lap pace, but last round and in the first race today, we have seen him do quite well in the races, as we got Scott Murrell on a hot lap here, just come out to the line now.
Yes.
He goes second place, just 2/10 away from Brendon Ross, 59.134.
Not a bad lap time there. Obviously the track not was rubbered in as what it was when he said his fastest lap during the race, so it's a very impressive time from Ross there. So you watch Luke joining it at all kinds of sideways. Turn 1 there, and obviously gathered it up. These cars being front wheel drive, meaning if you obviously get a bit sideways in these things, you can just plant the throttle and it'll even the car out nicely for you. That said, you've got to make some change to the setup, and obviously the rear end with tyre pressures needs to be looked at. You need to run more tyre pressure to get the thing to turn, as some people struggle in the touring car series and in this one as well a little bit. With obviously, I think most people driving only rear-wheel drive series.
Just had the session tick over. Well, not tick over. Session has come down to 00000. I think that's one too many zeros.
Well, either way, it's ticked over, and only Stoive, I believe, is on a lap.
A couple guys to that. The Turmo coming
Well, he's
out
into
of
the
the
pits,
final
so
corner.
it's Stoive. Everyone else is in the pits or pitting now, so Stoive is the only one on a lap. So
Yeah, not the best first sector there.
well, his first sector was an improvement on his own time, I believe, but his middle sector 3/10 down in his own time and 7/10 down on Ross's time. So he'll be hoping to make up a bit of time in this final sector, and well, on the grass, and he aborts it straight away. And well, that's it. So obviously, terrible qualifying session for race 1 for Ross. But he's avenged that this time around with a fantastic pole position with a 58.896. So that's Ross pole position. Scott Morrell on the front row, P2, 59.134. Stoive is joined by Poiter on the second row.
Best second row ever.
And we've got Mike Coulston, P5, Ads P6, Gary Neville, the defender from Manchester United in P7. Luke Joyner, P8. The Big Duke will be a little disappointed to find himself down in P9.
Yeah, 3 spots down for Big Dog in that qualifying session compared to race 1.
And yes, we've got Turmo P10, Brian Walsh P11. But I'm sure if he keeps his nose out of trouble, I think we'll see him once again gain a few spots. River Whisper P12. David Keane, 13th. He's not come to grips with this circuit at all. So he's struggling at the moment. And Glenn Miles in P14. So we've ticked over to warm up. We'll give the drivers 5 minutes this time. And it'll give them time to obviously do what they need to do before the race and check some things out. And obviously it'll give us a break. So we'll be back, but we hopefully you guys can join us for race 2, round 4 from Velo Citta of the Rookie Cup. And we are back. We're just about to form up. Well, we are forming up on the grid for race 2. I believe everyone, well, everybody but Scott Morrill is on the grid for race 2. Obviously, we've got Brendon Ross on pole position with Morrill joining him on the front row, who just joins us now.
10 seconds to go till the formation lap begins.
See, Morrill, he'll be looking to avoid the incidents he had in race 1. Showed some very good pace in that one. And Ross, well, he just wants to keep it going.
Hopefully he's got enough fuel in for this one.
Yes, hopefully he does. And Stoive, Bolger, P3. Once again, very commanding in P3. They've got Poiter joining him on the second row of the grid. He's in 4th. Mike Coulston qualified well once again. He'll be hoping for a bit of a cleaner race this time out. Morrill has spun it. He spun it on the formation lap and he's missed the wall, thankfully. But obviously...
I'm sorry to interrupt, but if our producers are listening, we may still very well be on the splash screen.
We are. Indeed we are. My mistake. But
producer's mistake. I got your back, buddy.
We go back and, well, there we go. Let's see, just trying to warm the tyres up a little bit and, well, lost the back end and missed the barrier. I do want to see someone hit that rock at some point, whether in the race or afterwards. Those rocks up there, I want to see someone hit them. Obviously, style points will be 10 out of 10 should they do it and roll. So, forming up on the grid. Coulston 5th, Ads 6th. Gary Neville P7. Luke Joyner P8. The Big Dog P9. Termo P10. Ryan Walsh P11. River Whisper 12th. David Keane struggling a little bit tonight, it has to be said, P13. And Glenn Miles 14th. So we're on the grid.
The light's going.
And we wait.
Go, go, go!
And Ross gets a fantastic start.
Yeah, great launch there from Ross. I thought Morrill might be able to get him, but he is looking to the inside now. As we have Termo, I believe, running against the pit wall once again.
Oh, we're 4 wide at the back. 5 wide. I believe everybody has got through there cleanly. It did look like there's going to be a massive accident with, obviously, people going 4 wide and the like down the back of the field, but I believe we've avoided any serious contact.
The rate of improvement is not too long ago. That would have just
big
gone
dog,
and
as you say, that big dog ran into the back. He outbroke himself massively and ran in the back of Mike Coulston, who's getting tapped on the rear end.
Well, thank you all for having me. I'm just going to call it a night now.
Bit of Morse code there from Brian Walsh. And, as we see it go 3 wide in the penultimate turn, they were told to avoid making dive bombs into there, but obviously that's been forgotten as we see Coulston running the back of Walsh, who pinballs into Steve Bolger, who's had another shocking start, it has to be said, and not his forte these first laps. So he's down to 8th, so he's dropped 4 spots. Gary Neville is up 2 to 5th. As Poiter makes an interesting line into turn 1.
Some of the things that we do see, especially in the second races of these ones, and the what's it called, touring cars, it may almost be worth considering. As Brendon Ross goes off the track, let's let Scott Morrill through, as I mispronounced his name horribly, as we get into the rest of the Jack Daniels.
No, he's from Darwin, mate. It doesn't matter how you say his name.
There goes Frank. Anywho.
And Ads look on the inside. Ads up into P2.
The interesting line there from a few of them out of the final corner to join the first straight.
Poiter taking the Tommy Mackinnon line on the grass.
Just going back to what I was saying before my horrible slip up. It may almost be worth in the Monday night races, especially where we do have 2 races that have the briefings as we are on tighter tracks. There's just to have a quick refresher course for the drivers, as everyone just seems to forget.
Oh, Ad's going slowly. Ad's going slowly. I don't know what's going on. perhaps he's...
Was Brendon Ross in front of him before he started going
was.
slowly? Because that would explain quite a lot.
They were side by side. As we're looking at a replay, they were side by side. Ross
Let's
outbroke
just give him
himself.
the spot.
Ads took the spot back,
No
and then
damage on my
lost,
screen.
he lost power. We cut back to him now, and he's got going. So perhaps someone's distracted him in the back. Perhaps he's received a parcel. I believe someone in the
Gary Neville, who is in England, received a parcel, which is why he was parked between the final two corners, as Ads now has his lights on.
yes. So Ross sending the parcel over there. So we did see in the chat that obviously someone received the parcel, which is well, we've seen someone in the Super Series that isn't commentating this race miss the majority of the race to go and get donuts.
Speaking of that,
and now we've had someone receive a parcel mid-race.
that's jogged my memory. We've also had someone who will remain nameless for the reasons of censorship, I believe, have the police knock on their door during a race or qualifying session once, which caused them to miss a significant portion. And I can imagine there's better ways to miss races.
Yes, certainly getting donuts would certainly be a much better one. Or even receiving a package, I could imagine, would be quite nicer. So you see Gary Neville having
depends what's in the package.
obviously, whatever the package was, it certainly made Gary go a bit faster, because he finds himself in P4 at the moment, and he's travelling quite nicely. And,
I had something to say, but I thought it's not broadcastable. See Stoive into 5th place. He's not too far behind Gary, about a second between them. He will start to come strong, as we have seen, but the gap between him and the leader is already over 5 seconds. Ish. As Ads has now got through on Glenn Miles for 13th place.
so he's going to have to fight his way through, obviously, whatever it was. So he's got Turmo.
Perhaps he was struck on the head by a coconut.
Perhaps. You see Turmo and River Whisper battling out, two newcomers. See River Whisper, see racing the touring cars on Monday night last week.
Marl with a 59.2 out front.
Still got Ross half a second behind him, so Ross isn't all that much slower.
Oh, Marl off the track. Marl off the track. That's going to let Ross through in a big way. I don't know what a big way is to let someone through, but if that is one.
He's kept his foot in it, so he hasn't lost too much time.
Yeah, you do forget when you're used to driving some of the cars that you and I do that you can keep your foot in it when you're off track in these front-wheel drive cars. As Ross is really struggling with that 3rd corner, I believe it is.
So,
He's just been running wide on exit almost every lap I've had the camera on him and losing time there.
well, looks like Morrill there, he was a little bit hot as he goes up the inside, as he cut back from the replay, and he retakes the lead into the penultimate turn. And Ross looks to get him back into the final turn, but can't get it done.
I'd have gone for it regardless of the briefing, to be honest with you.
And there's a penalty.
I didn't hear you. I wasn't in there. I was commentating.
And, well, Gary Neville now, we've gone back a bit. Now, Gary Neville has he's got a trainer cars behind. Bolger's caught up to the back of him a little bit.
Yeah, bit of space there for Peter. As Murrell off at turn 1 again. Struggling there, he just needs to ease up a bit on entry there and get that car stopped and turned in.
I was about to say that the previous lap, but it looked like he came in a little bit too hot, but also unsettled.
And Ross again at turn 3 has gone a little bit wide and cost himself time.
He hit the sleeping policeman, did Merle on that last time out.
Ross now off the track. These two are been side by side most of this lap so far.
And Merle takes that position back, so there's just action everywhere. We've got the battle for the lead, and then we've got...
screw the rest of them.
And then we've got Steve, who's just past Joyner, who's run wide, but Steve had all 4 tyres over that grass.
David Keane up to 6th place. He qualified 12th or 13th from memory.
And we've got Coulston off in the background. That's going to give Walsh a decent run on him, and it's going to give Big Dog also a decent run. So from...
If you can keep up with this, then you're better than us.
Yes, I'm trying to, but obviously the battle for the lead, the 2 leaders have made various mistakes, and that's allowed obviously Puda to catch up a little bit, and then obviously Gary Neville's got a train of cars behind him. With
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of space between Neville and Puda, and then it's just 4 or 5 cars bumper to bumper behind that.
yeah, so you've got obviously Neville, Bolger, Keane, and Joyner, and then there's a couple second gap to Coulston, Walsh, who runs wide. That could give the big dude P9. But no, it doesn't. So, and then got Ads sort of fighting his way back after, I don't know, maybe taking a telephone call, perhaps, or...
Got Ross in the slipstream, Murrell coming down the start-finish straight towards turn 1. Murrell just needs to get it pulled up in time and get it turned in there.
And there we go, he's done it. He's got through turn 1 and he's made it.
That is the greatest piece of racing that you are ever likely to see.
It deserves a round of applause. Now, can Ross get turn 3 right? You see he's messed it up last few times. Let's see what he does this time.
God, no.
He's done it.
Oh my, that's how you get a fucking racing contract back. You get one corner right and you're in.
He's done it. So, for those that are obviously watching on YouTube, please salute Brendon Ross by typing L7 in the comments, please. I mean, he's earned that one. Well done. So, here's a look at the penultimate turn there. Scott Morrell got the better exit. Well, looked like a better exit, but then ran wide.
Neither one of them had a good exit there.
Yes, sometimes it's just the way the camera is. It looks like they get a good exit, but then you see the grass, and it's like, okay, yes, that was a terrible exit. So now this lap,
big gap back to Puda though. I think Ross, he wants the win so badly, and you can tell by every single thing he's doing on track. But he doesn't need to. He's got Stoive behind him.
Well, Gary Neville's dropped down from 4th place, and Bolger's moved up, and Keane has also passed Neville. And
if he can stay with Murrell though, we've seen Murrell does have a great pace here, and it's just if you can stay with Murrell, you're gonna hold.
Bolger having a look at Keane. Sorry to cut you off there, and Keane goes around the outside. Goes around the outside and takes P4. So Keane, he's turning it on here in the second race. He's sort of nowhere in qualifying in both the races, and well, so far, so good in race 2.
I see you've got Coops WA getting the L7 and race car emoji into the comments. So we've got someone off in a big way at the final corner.
Neville. That's Gary Neville. He's going to lose out to Luke Joyner, and he does. So not been a very good lap for 2 laps, Gary Neville. He's dropped a couple spots from 4th down to 6th now. And Steve Bolger, I believe, is in the pits. Yes, he is. Steve Bolger entering the pit lane.
Early stop, but he did take better care of his tyres, and he has been in traffic, so it could be a very good strategy for him to just get out of the traffic and run by himself.
That's it. We know he's got the pace, and obviously last time out he pitted on lap 21 or 22 or something like that in the first race, so we know his tyres can last.
Yeah, he was in the battle with Ross as well, and
Brian
in that situation, it was the car that was following, I think, personally, would have had the better advantage from pitting early, and he didn't, so they both just ran until they pretty much couldn't drive anymore.
And Brian Walsh also in the pits. So they're trying to get a bit of free air.
Oh, Ross is going to be able to have a look into turn 1 again, I think. He's in the tow. There's just over a tenth between them as they cross the start-finish line.
That's Bolger and Walsh exiting the pits, so Bolger's come out just behind these guys. Probably...
got me for a second. I thought, how's he got up to pitting?
That's right. Gaining your, if you do pit, you will find, obviously,
about a minute.
About a minute, yes.
These drinks are getting stronger, but not that strong. Come on.
And as you can see, well, he's already in that 2 corners. He's gained right up to him. He's much quicker than him, but unfortunately,
it's a big disadvantage actually being behind them because they have no obligation to get out of the way whatsoever.
And I doubt they will. If they're smart, they won't, because obviously they're racing him.
They're better off just holding him up as best they can. Not holding him up, but just don't let him go through. As long as they're not losing time, then just carry on, son.
So Bolger, to win this race, he has to overtake Ross and Murrell, but he has to do it not on track for position, but just to get them to undercut them.
The thing is, he's going to be looking for the pass and using his tyres trying to make it happen, and then he's got to use his tyres even more.
Murrell runs wide in turn 1, so his troubles once again at turn 1 continue.
But Bolger, he'll have to use his tyres even more if and
He's
when he
having a
gets through
look,
them.
but thinks better of it. So yeah, obviously he would have wanted to come out a second or two further up the road, and he would have been set. He would have probably challenged these guys, or even perhaps taken the lead, because he looks much faster right now than these guys. As we see,
Yeah, this is a really bad situation.
as
He's
we
found
look back at
himself in
all
now.
his contact with the lap runner and David Keane, I believe that's Luke Joyner, car 71.
Yep,
See
yep,
Gary
Luke Joyner.
Neville.
Oh! That one! Peter moving across into Keane, but no one's died, so...
I saw Gary Neville in the pits there without a front splitter, so he's had an accident somewhere, and he's in the pits repairing it.
That was Perez on Sorokin kind of thing going on there, as these two come together coming down the straight. I don't have another simile in which to use for this situation.
And it looks like, well, Keane got it done, but on the switchback, Poiter gets it back. And Keane trying to switch back on himself.
There.
Peter does seem to love a bit of contact. He's,
The wall with other cars, with people on his phone, contacts.
That's a terrible joke.
Thank you.
Behind them, we've got Coulston, Big Dog.
It looks like Bolger may have got through on the leaders. Actually, no, sorry, the timing's going to be askew because I'm looking further back.
No, he's got past Ross and now he's side by side with Morrill. So they're letting him go. That could be costly for them. If they're smart, they've got to pit on this lap. So he's in front of him now.
As far as strategy goes, you want Bolger behind you if you're these guys.
Yeah, so he's got
You're going to hold him up and just waste his tyres.
I believe he was about 3 or 4 seconds behind them when they pitted. So these guys, if they're smart, will pit on this lap or the next.
Yeah, they've got to do it before he can get that advantage back up. And if Ross tries to pass Murrell now, then that contract really is in doubt.
Well, it looks like Ross might be listening because he's got his pit crew ready, and Murrell looks like he's going to continue. So just right on board Ross and see if he enters. Yes, no, he just runs wide. So his pit crew are ready, but he doesn't want to pit.
He does actually have the Falconer Racing engineers down there, and they are always ready.
And David Keane in P3, so he made his way up to the podium position.
A few guys come into the pits though.
And we've got Big Dog up into P4 now. He's side by side with Brian Walsh, who I believe is a lap down.
Just saw Keno's attempted entry into the pits. Sorry, that was that was good.
Oh, he said Coulston's had an accident in the pits. He's got front right damage to that car. We'll just ride on board and see what he's done here. So just looking at the replay. Oh, he might have received a tap, did he? Looks like a bit of lag, but at the same time, I think he received contact.
Just waiting for it to come up on the stream so I can have a look.
No, he just got on the power too early. It's a very sharp turn, and it's given him a bit of damage as David Keane gets away.
Yeah, he's just understeered.
So Murrell, his pit crew are getting ready. I believe Ross is probably waiting for when Murrell pits. So
So I'm just watching that whole thing play out on the stream. The turbo could have made up a position there and just sort of waited for him.
So these two sort of strung out a little bit, so that's probably helped their cause in a way. They're not battling as much, and they're not now losing as much time to Stoive.
Yeah, it could be when Ross does come in, though. He may be it's going to be very touch and go with where he comes out in relation to Stoive.
Yeah, Ross will be close, but I believe Scott, who does enter the pits, as does Ross.
Scott should be clear of Stoive by about 2 or 3 seconds from what I can tell, but Ross could be... Steve may jump him. There is a very real chance going by the times we have seen for pit stops.
So, Luke Joyner, P3. He's also pitting. Lap 17. So
Scott Murrell has just gone off a little bit on the pit road around that final pit corner.
he's just up on his jacks. Looks like he's just changing the front tyres. Which is the thing.
Brendon Ross takes the lead in the most entertaining way possible.
Schumacher won a race doing that, so albeit in more controversial circumstances on the last lap with the penalty. But we've got Stoive. He's exiting the final turn.
As Ross has gone to park back in the tent.
So Ross has gotten away and he's jumped Scott Murrell. So Murrell, maybe he had a bit of damage and forgot to change.
Bolger's got him. Bolger's got the lead.
And Bolger has got the lead. So them giving up position has won him this race. So fantastic bit of strategy work from the PCR racing crew, and Steve Bolger takes the lead.
But he's still got good tyres left, so over 70% on that front right, which is the one that we know is struggling. And I dare say, well, after we saw the times they were doing in race 1 after 21 laps on their tyres, he shouldn't really have any issues. It doesn't seem as though degradation is causing much of a drop-off.
There doesn't seem to be a drop-off like the Pirelli Formula 1 tyres of yesteryear.
It seems to be very proportional to the fuel load. When you got the heavier fuel, you're going to go X amount slower, and then here with these cars, you got the lighter fuel load but no tyre, you go X amount slower.
And through those pit stops, David Keane has moved up in front of Scott Murrell, although he made a real meal of that final turn, and it's going to give Murrell a good run.
I think Murrell must have taken all 4 tyres.
It didn't look like he did, and normally the pit stop would be a bit longer. So I reckon he's had a little bit of damage. It did seem to go off the road a little bit.
Yeah. Actually, on pit entry, it did look as though he ran off just slightly around that final right-hander as they're coming into the pit, into the garage complex. As we have Bolger lapping, I believe, Glenn Miles. It did look like he'd just run off a little bit and may have clipped the wall, so maybe just a small little bit of damage he didn't have time to cancel has been repaired, and that's cost him in a very big way.
Another loser out the pit stops is Puda, who was 3rd, I believe, when he pitted, and he's now down in 6th. So...
And Big Dog has improved, I believe... Sorry, Big Dog has improved 2 places on his qualifying position.
He's got Ads now behind him. So Ads, I don't know if he's pitted. I'm going to assume he has.
I can tell you.
So
however long it takes me to hit the button.
He's slowly...
yeah, he's definitely pitted. He's got a lot of tyre.
So he's slowly made his way up. He's now in P8. We've got Coulston, P9. Ryan Walsh in P10. Both of them carrying battle damage on their minis. With Turmo, he's down in 11th. River Whisper P12, the Miles 13th, and Gary Neville, who was running very strongly up in P4 in the early stages, obviously ripped the front splitter off his Mini and had to pit to repair it. So that's why he's down in 14th. And, well, back at the lead, and Ross has closed that gap down at the front, and now he's on the rear bumper of Steve Bolger.
Yeah, now it's sort of going to be reversed as to what it was when Bolger was trying to unlap himself, and he has to keep Ross behind him and try and get Ross to use up too much tyre trying to pass. As Ross does the fast, a 58 888, Craig Lowndes something.
Yes, Craig Lowndes.
I had something and it went straight away.
That was that's fast.
I forgot it faster than I thought of it. I forgot it faster than that lap.
That's the 2nd fastest time. That would have put him. That was faster than his qualifying lap. So obviously he got into
bit of traffic here.
There's River Whisper getting out of the way, doing a good job. Although he didn't have to get off the track there, but he did. And Bolger having to go defensive.
A lot of these guys, when they are in the main series, they do tend to run off the track to let the lap guys through, and they really don't need to. There's no need whatsoever to do that. We don't expect them to just compromise their race in such a big way. It's just, stay to the side, lift off a bit on the straight, let us through, and we're happy. But they do get off the track, and we honestly would rather see them race.
Yeah, that's it.
Not us, because they're a lap down, but you want to see them up there and pushing.
That's it. You don't want to see them, have to cost themselves 5 or 6 seconds to get their tyres dirty. Ross tries to go around the outside of turn 1 of Bolger, and
he's done
got it. He's got it. Broke later. I had the slipstream. And, well, just had a very good run through turn 1. He takes the lead. Those better tyres working very nicely for him.
If Greg Nangle happens to be watching this, you've just lost your number 1 fucking L driver status. No, he hasn't.
You've sacked him, that's why.
He got rehired.
There, you've heard it here first, folks. Greg Nangle has been sacked. And rehired and then sacked.
And rehired.
And then,
Even I've been sacked from my own team. Come on. I don't know what I'm doing. You're the one commentating with me, can't you tell?
yeah. So, we're all behind him. The gap was 6 seconds to the gap in front. It's now 4, but I believe on this lap, he's got a track cut there.
Big Dog with a penalty, that's not what you want to see.
So,
he's been having a good race up into 7th place.
Ads go into the pits, so...
That's interesting. Did he have damage?
Perhaps. He did have that spin early on, I don't know. That's why he was down the field.
No, that car looks fine. He's got his headlights on again.
So Big Dog must have done it for cutting the track at the penultimate turn, which a lot of people seem to be doing.
There's no visible damage on that car. He's now parked. Ads is out of the race. He's retired. He must have forgotten to put fuel in or something.
Or perhaps whatever was distracting him earlier, perhaps that's come back and he's had to go and do something.
Oh, he's one of these guys that have gone and made the biggest mistake and got married.
And, well, we've got Stoive. He's hanging on to the back now of Ross. So these two, like magnets, they just stick together. And
Glad Miles for the drive-through penalty. Not a good night out for him at all.
Yes, certainly not the best night for him at the moment.
Well, if he can keep Gary Neville behind him, he will get a few points. There's 10 seconds between the two of them, as I believe Big Dog is coming to serve his penalty as well, as Miles has crashed on pit entry.
Oh, he has too. He's off in the boonies.
He's turned the wheel the wrong way trying to correct it, but fortunately enough has gone far enough back.
That will have significant suspension damage, that, and well, the gap for the front three is coming down.
It didn't look like he hit the wall too hard. He just sort of drove into it lazily.
But you know how carbon fibre is. It bends, and it's bent quite a lot there.
People would say you're a bit bent. And he's stopping for repairs. He's going to have to come through again.
Scott Murrell says the fastest lap of the race and the weekend, a 58.6. Obviously, it was about to bring up before, obviously, Glenn Miles binned it in the pit lane. That he had closed the gap down from 4 seconds to 2. And there you go, 1.9 seconds to Stoive in front of him.
Yeah, 2.1 seconds between Brendon Ross and Scott Murrell, and that gap is coming down as I lose my voice momentarily.
Bolger having a look there, but not getting it done. But on the last lap, it's not like they were slow either. Both of them setting 58 or 59.6 for Ross and 59.8 for Bolger, so they're not travelling slowly. It's not like they're setting a 1 minute lap time. But
Ross is off a long way there.
He could find himself into the lead here. Ross goes defensive, but he's not got the speed. If Murrell wants it, he could go
yeah, Murrell's gonna pass. He has had issues earlier in the race in turn 1 though.
58.8 on that lap for him, so he's got plenty of pace in that thing and a little bit of contact.
A little bit of a hip and shoulder there, but it's all good in my books.
Nothing malicious in it. And well, now he's got to hold on now. Because
the stewards have been called harsh in the past, but we only hand out penalties if someone is compromised in a very significant way, or someone is just completely and utterly cheated. And otherwise, it's just, you know, if you bump someone, you bump someone. If you give the spot back, good on you. If not, as long as it's not wide the pass.
Oh, it's
Murrell around.
Or receives a tap. He might
That's
get
a track cut.
He might get a penalty for that. No, he doesn't. Thankfully, he doesn't.
No, he may have a couple in the bank, but that one surely has come up as a warning.
I assume it would. And he's lifted off and given Ross the lead back, because obviously he did gain a massive advantage out of that. So
that was awesome. Oh, he's off at turn 1 again.
And he's knocked the 50 board. See you later. I don't want to see you. I'm sick of seeing you. And well, he's got to get his head back in the game now. Get himself back into. Oh, has he got a bit of lag there? He's disappeared and he's behind Steve Bolger. So a bit of computer lag, I believe that would have been. Because if you internet lag, you disappear, and if you obviously reappear in the same spot, which he did, that must have been a bit of hardware lag there for him. So that's dropped him down a spot, and he's now 3 seconds behind the lead.
So we've got 3 laps to go once they cross the line here. He's got pace, but does he have enough pace to get back past Bolger and in front of Ross? He's right behind Bolger now, but not close enough to have a move into turn 1.
There's his nemesis right there. Turn 1, and he's ran wide again. He just can't get it right. Turn 1. Struggle with it all night, as you see. Bolger's all over the place now. That's gonna give Morrill a good run.
He's having a look here.
Goes for it. Outbrakes himself a little bit, but keeps it on the track. He's got the inside line on the next corner.
Bolger looking for the cutback though.
Yeah, Morrill outbroke himself again. It's going to give Stoive a good look into the penultimate turn, but he's too far back and has to give up the position.
Yeah, more just trying to get into Morrill's mirrors, I'd say, from Bolger there.
So Morrill runs wide.
Kept a couple on the track though. Well, it's AMS, so that might be the only one he get a cut for.
Yeah, I believe in practice for Silverstone, I had all 4 tyres on the track and managed to pick up a warning.
I managed to go all through every practice session with about 2 cuts in total, and then got 3 in the race.
Well, thanks to these 2 battling, Ross has now got a 3.5 second lead, almost 4 seconds over these guys.
Glenn Miles, another penalty. Actually, no, that has to be another one. It's been long enough, because he did stop for repairs after crashing on pit entry when he had the last one. So that wouldn't have counted.
Yeah, so with these 2 battling and Morrill making mistakes, now 3.7 behind these guys, and these 2 have allowed David Keane to close up onto the back of them.
Yeah, now it's the only one who can beat Ross is Ross. As he's just about to, well, yeah, as he's just about to start the final lap now.
It seems the composure for a lot of these rookie drivers sort of goes out the window a little bit when they're racing. You see it a lot in particularly the last 2 turns, where you want to be setting both of those corners up for the exit, especially the last turn. And they seem to just get too throttle happy.
Oh, Morrill sideways there. He's off track at turn 1 again.
And that's going to cost him 2 spots. It does. Oh, it gives
Kane that's not a pretty rejoin there.
It's not. He's going to try and get that position back, but
I think that's Keane's position there.
It probably should be Keane's position. Yes. We'll see unsafe rejoin and then giving a bit of a serve. Smartest driving. So that might need to be redressed after the race. So
yeah, Ross is now a long way ahead. He's just coming down the line now.
Lights ablaze, and he will take race 2. Steve Bolger second, Morrill third, but he might get swapped out for David Keane in 4th. We had a fantastic fight back to finish in P4. Luke Joyner, P5. Bit of battle damage on the front right of his machine, but still 5th place. And we got Poiter, he's P6. Was running up there in 3rd or 4th early on, but sort of fell away a little bit during the pit stops. He's P6. Mike Coulston, bit of a fight. Dropped a couple spots where he started, but still P7, not bad. Turmo, solid job, kept it going, P8. Glenn Miles has got himself disqualified, so he mustn't have served the penalty. And has got himself DQ'd.
We have the biggest demolition derby down at turn 1 right now, and I love every bit of it.
Brian Walsh is going to finish P9. Big Dog's got finished P10, but he's got no front splitter. River Whisper 11th. Gary Neville 12th. Ads DNF, and Glenn Miles disqualified. So we see Ross doing the perfect reverse doughies.
There's bits of car everywhere.
There's an orange believe that. I don't know if that's Keen or if that's Joyner, but the front end is gone.
Oh, I love sim racing.
And there's the 71 car without his bonnet. That thing is hashtag wrecked.
That's REKT.
Yes. And I see Merle and Ross having a bit of a biff in turn 2.
Yes, give him a good old biffing. Yes.
And no one has hit that rock yet, so as far as I can... Well, I think...
Forget about Murrell getting a +1 position penalty. That's just DQ all round. In fact, I think because of that, Miles should win the race.
Well, there's the rear end of Morrow's car gone after Ross gives him a bit of serve. I reckon everybody should be disqualified for not hitting any of those rocks.
I think Glenn Miles has won that race. He
No,
didn't. Him and Ads are 1-2. They didn't get the opportunity.
As we were talking to each other, we let him pass, but we didn't actually realise future down the road that it would be position, so it's a good move by his part.
Certainly was. So, obviously, and then obviously once he did retake the lead again, he did have fresh tyres from Steve, who pitted early, and then obviously Steve and Scott sort of fell away a little bit, and it was just a comfortable drive at the end there.
Yes, so I knew I had to just buy me time. I knew his tyres were going to go off, and my tyres were a lot younger, so just a bit of thinking ahead got that win ahead for me.
That's it. So obviously that's going to extend your championship lead once again. So another good round for you. You're in fantastic form at the moment.
Yep, so it's really enjoying these cars. So it's very good when we got people like Scotty and Steve who are putting a bit of competition in the field. So it's good to have them join us.
Yeah, good to see. And well, he is here. Obviously, Scotty. Obviously, race 1 didn't quite go to plan, and well, race 2 you could have had the win. You had the lead for about half a lap, and then you threw it away after finally catching up onto the back of Rossi and Stoive, and then yeah, it sort of unravelled a little bit.
Yeah, those two were definitely waving a red flag, which helped me get up there pretty quick. Pushed and pushed and pushed. Like a dog chasing a...
Oh, bit of lag there, so apologies. We have been joined by, in Discord, the name is Cruiser, so I don't know who that is on track, so you're going to have to clarify.
I believe we have Stoive.
Stoive.
You've mispronounced your own name there, mate. It's Stoive.
Stoive.
That's what we want.
A better exit, well...
Hey, boys.
Yeah, so obviously, you drove very well there in race 1, sort of breaking away from the field and taking a bit of a comfortable win in the end with those behind you sort of having to save fuel. But race 2, you had the strategy, but it looked like you sort of just ran out of tyres in the end there.
Yeah, tyres were a problem, but when Rossi did a 58 during the race to catch up, he took a big chunk out of the lead. So he had great pace that I couldn't match on the older tyres.
Yeah.
It was too good in the end.
Still, obviously, your pole position streak finally came to an end, obviously, in the second qualifying session there, but obviously, once again, you maintained it. I think it's 5 qualifying sessions in a row. You managed pole position, so you've got the pace there. Obviously, one thing we have noticed, though, is that those first laps of yours, you always seem to drop a few spots, which makes the races a bit more difficult than what you'd rather.
Yeah, gone to the Mark Webber School of Starts, and I don't think I've led into turn 1 in any of the races where I've been on pole, so made it very difficult for myself.
Yeah, so possibly, or hopefully, in the coming rounds, to sort of rectify that a little bit. Perhaps maybe a slight change in how to take the start, or perhaps just maybe even a slight change of mindset might get you on the right track.
Maybe. We'll see what we can do.
But still, a couple of good results. Obviously, a win and I believe second place as well. So, pretty good weekend.
Yep, very good all round. Apologies to Scotty for taking him out in lap 1 in the first race. That took out half the competition, but yeah, it was a good round.
Ross, it certainly was. So we've also been joined by Mike Coulston, who will be the last of obviously the interviewers or interviewees.
Hi guys.
I was about to correct you.
Okay, Mr.
Correct
Gramanazzi.
person.
Obviously, Mike. Obviously, I can't remember. I'll be honest. I can't remember too much of what happened to you in race 1. But obviously, race 2, you qualified not too badly, and you weren't going too badly, and then you copped a bit of damage that sort of compromised you a little bit, I believe.
Yeah, race 1 was a good one. I forgot to turn damage off, lost about 20 seconds, so I could have leapfrogged Big Dog on the way, but it is what it is. Race 2, Walshy, myself, and Gary Neville just got a little bit close. That's all it was, bit of racing.
Certainly, and well, before I ask anything else, I will ask you one thing. Can you please say Big Dog the correct way?
No.
Good. That is what we tune in for, so that's what we like to hear. So from those that obviously do join us for interviews in future rounds, and Big Dog is racing, and you do bring him up, you have to say it in the proper pronunciation, which is the Big Dog. So,
Anytime.
But yeah, obviously, your form of late has sort of improved steadily, so you'll be hoping, or you sort of probably can't wait until obviously the next Monday night, where you'll be hoping to continue that upswing in form.
Yeah, look, I just changed the mindset really more than anything else. I just want to get through the first couple of laps. I know I've got fairly okay race pace, but I just wasn't getting past the first couple of laps. That's really it.
Well, that's it. I think a lot of people, obviously, that's what this obviously Rookie Cup is all about. Is obviously it's not so much about winning all the time for a lot of people. It's just about, okay, you might not be winning all the time, or you might not be at the front, but perhaps just think about a few things and obviously work on stuff. So obviously mentality is a big one. Obviously that first lap, you don't want to go and dive bomb people or take overly risky maneuvers and damage your car and stuff like that. So it's good to see that obviously the Rookie Cup is sort of helping obviously drivers sort of develop their racecraft a bit.
Oh, it absolutely is. One thing I've got to say, I've noticed the improvement of the quality of racing, not only of myself, but people around me in times, people like Walshy, Gary Neville, etc. We all seem to be dropping some seconds off laps, but also doing some pretty safe laps as well. So, yeah, it's good. And, I can only thank you guys for organising it. I know it's a lot of effort. So thanks again for your time.
Oh, that's all right. Although it's not too much of an effort. Although
I was going to say, if you think it's a lot of effort, you haven't watched the broadcast.
Well, it is a little bit of an effort when you've got to Photoshop something up in 5 minutes because you've got to do the dishes. But that's another story. But
Buy a dishwasher.
But yeah, obviously, once again, it's good to hear that obviously rookies are enjoying the series, and it's also good to hear that obviously people are using this series, and it's helping them obviously develop their racecraft. So hopefully, obviously, your form continues. I don't know if you're racing on Thursday, but I do hope the form continues
Yeah,
on, well, certainly Thursday, Sunday, and Monday.
absolutely. Again, thanks, guys.
Cheers. And, well, we do have some racing coming up at Automobilista Australia. Thursday, I actually cannot remember the series. So, Scruff, could you go through what is on Thursday and Sunday, please?
I believe it's Formula One this Thursday with the schedule rejiggering to allow for the V8 Supercar Enduros.
Yes.
And you're far more qualified than me to tell the people what race that is because it's your series.
Yes, so obviously obviously with the rejigging of the series, I'd forgotten when it was on. I didn't know if it was this Thursday or next. So obviously this Thursday for those that are racing in Formula One. Also, practice will begin at 7:30 for that one. I obviously would like to start proceedings a little bit earlier. 1 hour practice from 7:30, and it will be from San Marino it's the San Marino Grand Prix, but it's actually in Italy. But it is the Imola circuit. So for those that want to practice, it's the 2001 layout. And for those that don't have it, it is actual DLC. But it is worth it. You do get the modern version, the 88 version, and obviously the 2001 version, which we will be using.
Yeah, I believe if you don't have that, the season pass, which has all the DLC and all future DLC, is relatively cheap. I bought the full game with it, and it was only about $10 more. So, very useful investments. We do race Adelaide and a few of those tracks quite a bit.
Yes, obviously Hockenheim is another one in the Formula One series, which is add-on DLC, and that obviously gets you all the classic Hockenheim circuits as well as the modern ones as well. So you can go out there and race at 400 kilometers an hour in a Mini or something. But
that's wishful thinking.
Well, you could modify the files, but obviously on Sunday night, what is it? The supercars from Sandown. That'll be the first of the enduros. So
yeah, the Sandown 250. I believe that's been dubbed by Nether.
Yep, the Sandown 250. So that is 80. Yes, that'll be 80 laps or 81 laps around.
Yeah, 50% of the actual race distance. Yes. With driver swaps. Well, co-driver.
Well, for
and
those that
single
want
drivers are allowed.
Yep. So I myself, Lewis, I am looking for a co-driver.
And Pro A drivers aren't to be paired with other Pro A drivers. So if you're in Pro B or below, give Lewis a call, and he will. I'm going to stop this train of thought.
Yes. And, so you will be driving the green-eyed monster. You will have. I have finished the skin, so you will.
Actually, isn't your teammate Jacques Villeneuve?
It is
his name I can't pronounce.
It is Jacques Villeneuve.
That's
my
right.
teammate. So if you want to race as Jacques Villeneuve, or if you in fact are Jacques Villeneuve, please just send me a message and you can be my co-driver for the event.
We are trying to get in touch with him,
and we do know your sim race, so just throwing it out there.
If you're one of the 7 people watching this, surely you of all people have something better to do.
But and then obviously on Monday night we have the return of the Touring Car Series, and I did make a mistake last week that I thought it was at Ribeiro Preto for a lot of people. That isn't the case. It is the next round next week on Monday is from Ibarra for the Touring Car Series. So we hope to see Thursday, Sunday and Monday for Automobilista Australia. But from Scruff and myself, Lewis, we hope you enjoyed our broadcast, and we hope to see you again. Cheers.